Spiritual sex and candy, yeah.
Oh, hello, gorgeous beings, and welcome to Spiritual Sex and Candy. Hi, I'm Heather, your Shamanic Sweetener, and this is my amazing, wonderful, incredible co-host, JP Adkins, our Freedom Jedi.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Heather. It's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you.
Sorry, I had to finish that praline. I am wonderful.
It's episode 19.
It is episode 19, baby. I meditated.
Embracing healthy communications with the throat chakra.
No.
Jeff doesn't want to talk about the throat chakra because it is literally all about communication. It's our authenticity, our personal truth. This is how we show our creativity, right? We talked about in the sacral chakra, that's where creativity starts, right? And how we express it comes from our throat chakra.
Yeah.
And before we get started, before we say anything else, here is your warning that we are a warning. If you don't like the word fuck, if sex and drugs and talking about trauma triggers you too much, by all means, please just see your way out. We love you because we are going to talk about all the things. We are a trigger warning.
We are triggered.
We are triggered.
Oh no, that's just me.
We are triggered and we are a trigger warning. Yes. Yeah, I mean, you guys, Jeff and I talk on a regular basis, just so you know, like he's one of my favorites. And this is usually fitting around what we're going through in our lives. And though we plan this way ahead of time, like we could have never known that this is what we would be talking about today and what we would be going through right now. Would match so closely.
And I want to thank you. Okay, you guys, I know I say this all the time, but Heather is one of the best people in the world for getting through your shit. And I want to thank you for earlier. Mind you, I don't feel better. But
that's not what my job is.
That is not the job that you were assigned. So just to give you guys some context.
Just for the record here, I am not the person to come to, as Jeff says, like, I am not the person that you come to when you want someone to tell you to placate you, because that's not my job. My job is to push the limits and be honest and blunt and say the things that other people don't want to say and find a way that it clicks for you, because I will explain it to you 30 different ways until it clicks.
And that happened today, quite literally.
Yeah.
So Heather gets the inclination, the message that she has to call me as she does her card pull, and because the universe had, the guides had messages for me that I was not getting. Go figure. I'm not listening to the universe. Never happens. I don't know what you're talking about. So she calls me up, and I'm like, oh, goody, because I knew if they're telling her something, it's going to be a doozy. I might as well sit down and just shut up.
I mean,
and
you're not wrong.
Exactly. And I things I know, and the part of it was the throat chakra, my throat chakra. I have not gotten to the throat chakra where I'm actually opening it and like working on it and doing things actively, which is really showing in a lot of other areas in my life. So we have a whole session. She pulls some cards for me, and each one was one after another of
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
yeah. Hi,
Hello.
hello. This is what we've been trying to tell you, but
I
still
mean,
not
and
giving
for
me.
the record, I just want to say I'm really glad that because I'm glad that it was an aha for you at some point, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's something I've like been talking to you about for quite some time, of like and then today, now you're just at a point where in your process where you were like, oh, damn it,
You,
okay,
they
because when you put a lot
rephrased
of work.
everything.
Yeah. Well, because you put a lot of work into something. And when you change as an individual, let's get some spirituality into this, right? So as you grow and
Hmm.
you change timelines and you change who you are because you're healing and you're doing the work, what you a lot like a lot of times you get stuck in this like this is what I've been thinking this whole time, but you're not that person anymore because now you're different spiritually. You're different in
Hmm.
so many other ways that as we grow, and for me as well. So, like, this is not, what I started out doing a few
Right.
years ago is not anywhere near what I'm doing now. And even that is transforming and changing as I go through this process. And the idea of what I want to do and how I want to do it has changed because I'm a different person.
Yeah.
And we tend
And
to beat ourselves up about the past version of what we thought we were supposed to be doing at this time and letting go of the things that aren't working anymore. Because you're like, but I put so much energy into this that like I want to give it, I want to hold it and fix it.
there's
You want to fix it
there's
because we're told to fix it, and sometimes we can't fix it. We just have to set it
mm,
down and move on from there.
part of what I talk about is not fixing things. Is so the words that started coming out of our mouth was fixing it, and then I'm like, oh, oh crap. So that was a trigger for me. I'm fixing things, and that's what it comes down to: is I'm not creating, I'm fixing, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to fix. And so once I
Well,
can
we're always
change the
trying to
energy.
we feel because we get caught in that, we think we need to fix ourselves.
Hmm. And there's something to fix. There's something to fix. I could have spent the rest of my days without opening up my chakras. I promise you, I could have done that.
Amazing.
I could have lived the rest of my
No,
life without ever doing that whole stuff. I
not being in
promise
my
you.
life or not.
Well, if that's what it took. I don't know
I'm telling you,
I
you
don't
spend
know
enough time in my
if
life, your chakras are gonna be opened up because if you don't, then you don't wanna vibe with me because you're either
I
growing or or
yeah,
we're not
I don't
speaking the
know if it
communication.
yeah, that's the it's worth it. It's worth it. I know it's worth it. But right now I'm in a
Yes,
very
you know what?
bratty.
Well, because
Oh.
we have to go back, but that goes back to that as we go through our healing process and we do it over and over again. And every time we go back to it, we see it from a different perspective. That's where that circle comes in, right? Because we've come back
Mhm.
around and we're a little higher above it, but we still stop and we go, oh, and then you see it from a different perspective and then it changes. And that's how we heal. Like this is not gonna be the last time. It's not the
No.
last time for me. Every time we do one of these, every time I go and research something else, every time
Mhm.
I help a client through something or a friend or something, it brings them something for me as well. And in my communication, which is funny that we're talking about the throat chakra because one of the major issues I've had lately is with my throat and
Mhm.
my thyroid not working, which is a part of all the other things going on in my lovely body. Gotta love that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and and it's fun because once it's cleared, and I have had times where everything is flowing and everything's great, and for me not to feel creative is like ridiculousness. I mean, really, truly, and not being able to communicate and not being able to do video. I can do video in my sleep, so me not knowing what to say has been it's been a challenge for me.
Well, yeah,
And
because it's a different connection.
right, it's a completely different connection. I'm in a completely different space. I've talked frequently about not knowing how to integrate where I was to where I am. And that's one of the things that we get to play with is how does that integrate and how does that merge together. Um, and that's been interesting. And it's an interesting process. And today, guys, I might sound really down today because I'll be honest with you, I'm a little down today. So, it's not
in this moment.
right in this moment. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
I know I'll get through this. This isn't an end all be all day.
Right.
I'm in a big transition. I know I'm in a big transition. Like there is no question. I have a lot of things that I've been working on for a lot of years that I will have answers for by the end of next weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Lots of things going on. Lots of things merging in the same moment. So, yeah, it's going to be.
And when you grow and change as an individual, because change is inevitable, right? That's the only thing that we ever count on is change. And as things change, our views and what we want change too. And we think sometimes that we have to hold on to this. Well, for years, I thought I should be at this point, right? Like that expectation of where we think we should be. And, everyone goes through that. I thought by 30, I would be, we all go through it our whole life. Like, I did at least, oh my gosh, I'm 30 and I thought I would be doing this or, and at 48 first off, I never thought about what my life would be like beyond my daughter graduating high school, to be honest. And shortly thereafter that, like, I never thought about what my life would be like when she moved out and started doing her own thing. And it was just me. I never thought it would just be me, first off.
Yeah.
Right. And I love being single. So let's just get that out there. Like, I like being single. I love me some me for sure. I have my moments, but at the end of the day, I love me some me. But this is not where I thought. I know in a million years, I never thought I would be doing this right now. Or that this would be a platform for me.
I
Right.
yeah, it really is a big change, isn't it? It's not the. There's something about being in this space, about being, and by the way, guys, next week is my birthday, so you guys get to actually spend my birthday with me, and
as it should be.
As it should be. I mean, where else will I be? So there's a lot of self-reflection. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of energy that goes onto the head whole mess that's kind of feeding into some of this and some of that. And it's really what we're talking about. Like, where are we at? What is the year? The energy is shifting. The energy is changing. My numerology is moving into the new year, which is always interesting, which I had to double check what it was. I think I'm moving into a 6.
Sometimes I like to not think about any of those things because I think sometimes we get too caught up in like, what is our horoscope? How are the planets aligning in this way and that way? And how is it affecting my mood? That a lot of times I go retrograde. Everyone goes like, oh, retrograde. I can't wait for retrograde to be over. Retrograde just helps us to face the things you don't want to face. Like that is the time for you to have to, hey, guess what? It's time for you to deal with it. So when things come up in retrograde for me, I don't think of it as a negative thing at all. I always think of it as, oh, this is a work time. Okay, this is I'm going to have to work on myself time.
I mean, it's not a negative. The issue is that if you were to believe astrology, and I'm not, super caught up in it. Don't get me wrong. I typically know when the moon is, where the moon is, because I can normally feel where the moon is. I'm sensitive like that. I feel the energy, and I typically can tell you like some major event that's happening eventually, right?
Right.
I don't keep
like
up.
the equinoxes, things like that. Yeah,
Right. I might know if retrograde's happening, maybe if I saw it somewhere, and oh yeah. Oh, and a lot of times it's more as an explanation for, oh, my screen died, like absolutely randomly.
Right.
My something.
It blocks your communication, right? They always
Right.
talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, oh yeah, it's retrograde. Okay. All right. Cool. It's not a negative per se, except this one. I was in New Orleans for the whole retrograde. So
Yeah.
let's be honest. What happened in this one?
But you learned a lot.
I did learn a lot. I learned, and
Because this was kind of your because it was your maiden voyage, really. I mean,
yeah. It really was. It was, and there's been a lot of really great. There was a lot of really great things that happened. Don't get me wrong. I might be talking a little bit about all of it, but
you met some really amazing people.
I
You
met it
experienced a different part of New Orleans where
truly.
it was, maybe not the most pleasurable, but it was real New Orleans.
I
And
was
you
very
got
real.
to go to local bars. Like, that's the fun stuff. Like, all the other
Yeah,
stuff that happened
right.
were just things.
There were just things, but it was a
Yeah,
lot of things.
it was a lot of things.
A lot of things, and then so that it got buried, like everything else kind of got buried.
Yeah.
As it would for anyone, and I don't care how spiritual and how um with it you
Yeah,
are.
human
Sometimes we have,
experience, that's just how it is.
right, and sometimes you get to come back and reprocess and like, oh yeah, cool, great, or you can reprocess like I did and said that was fucking shit and move on. Like that was just it. It was fucking shit. That's my experience in New Orleans this last time was fucking shit, and I got to move. I get to move on, and it's
Right.
beautiful. And um, yeah. But the throat chakra, going back, I realized I'm like, I have been bitching this whole. I apologize. I didn't mean,
So
but
here's
this
the
is a
deal,
part of
though,
it.
that this is part of it, right? Because this is I
Hmm.
speak. This is your truth and your authenticity, right? Your communication, your personal truth, your creative and self-expression. And sometimes that's not always sometimes your truth in the moment is it's rough right now. And I
Hmm.
don't think we talk about that enough because so many times in the healing process, and all these, with the inundation of people online, and can people just be careful, please? Um, as a professional who has, you know, been a healer for many, many years in different forms and different ways, can I just say vet the people that you um, and make sure you have a connection with them in some way
Hmm.
because there's so many scammers out there, and there's so many, I go in people's lives all the time, or I come across people's videos, and I'm like, really? And they have like 60,000 likes, and I'm like, they're talking out their ass right now, like, so be careful, be careful.
I One of the reasons I talk about this all the time. It's one of the reasons why I don't do like the card lives very often or things like that is because I feel like there are people such as yourself that are
Yeah,
so much not more in tune because you're really not. We've talked about that before,
right,
but so much better at it, like better at communicating it, and can
right,
tap in faster. I can tap in, but it takes me. I have a whole process. It's going to take me a little bit, and with
right,
your energy, and especially with other people's energy, like I have to tap in if I really want to get a good reading and get. And sometimes it just comes to me. I'm claircognizant, so it does just
right.
the word is there, but I don't trust that word because I'm not as connected enough for me
Yeah,
to feel like I can say that word out loud.
right. So here's the thing. So I am a little spicy. I am one of those, and I've always been this way. Like, I'm the person who just says, I say all the things that no one wants to say.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And for example, we had this friend one time who So other people, I was a part of a Renaissance recreation group where we did educational things and like live steel, people got in armor and stuff, right? And so there was a situation where there was this particular individual who no one really cared for. She was from a group out of town and she would come into town and there was just some friction, right? And so we were standing in a circle and she says, I don't understand why so many people have an issue with me. And I said, do you really want an answer to that question? My poor sister who is standing next to me is like, oh, this is not going to be good. Like this is not going to be good, And of course, this individual goes, yeah, I would. And I proceeded to tell her exactly why people perceived her the way that they did, and where their feelings were on things. And she was like, oh,
Right.
and then she goes, well, I wish it was that way. I go, no, it is that way. That's the issue right there. It is that
Right.
way. And you don't acknowledge that it's that way. Right. Like you're blind to it. And that's the frustrating part is that, that's the part people are upset about. And my sister was like, oh, like, how is this going to go? Because this could start, some shit. But most of the time, people, when encountering me, know that I'm really just coming from a pure place. Like,
Yeah.
it is not to be, I am never saying it to be mean or nasty or hurtful or, any of those things. I'm just saying things that other people don't want to say. And at the end of the day, can I just say the same woman still is like, I love you for that. Like, I
All
love
right.
that you just were honest about what, because people were intimidated by her as well. And by the way, I don't get intimidated. I'm not intimidated by people.
Mm.
I've never been like that. I am not. That is one thing that has probably not always gone in my favor because I'm not intimidated by people. But when you work with doctors and you work one-on-one with a doctor, you get to be one of two ways. Either you're going to be a doormat for them or you're going to prove to them that we're going to have an adult conversation because you can't do your job without me. And that's going to be recognized in this, because I'm not an idiot, which is
Yeah.
something that is a block in this, by the way, that is a block in this chakra, right? Having to prove your point or feel like you're not being heard, right? And this happens when we are criticized as children. Maybe you weren't encouraged to express yourself. So in my house, for sure, my dad literally told me at one point my opinion did not matter. There were things going on between him and my mom, and they were fighting all the time. And of course, I did have an opinion about it because I felt my mom was a weak, not that my dad, okay, so I have to put the prefaces on this. My dad in a million years would never lay hands on my mom. So I don't, when I say this next statement, I don't want anyone to think in any way that that he would ever harm her because that was not the issue, right? But the argument was they were in an argument, and I told him to be nice to my mom because I was so tired of them bickering and arguing, and and I was like, you need to be nice to my mom, and that he then his rage turned on me because
And
and I was
and
like,
and
you
part
need
of
to
that
be
is
nice
because
to
you
my
didn't
mom.
probably see the other side of that either.
Well, of
You
course
know.
not. I mean, no, and of course, as an adult, looking back at him and I having
Yeah.
conversations as an adult, I understood more of what was going on during that
Mm.
time. But at that time, all I could see was him picking on my sick mom,
Right.
and and he told me literally, your opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. you know? And then as much as I was in JROTC in high school, I know people don't believe that when I say that, but I really was. It was Marine Corps. It was hardcore. And I was the third highest ranking officer in the whole, my senior year in the whole program. And they did it to give me a voice
Yeah.
because they were like, you need to have a voice. And then they gave me one. And then I think they were not.
And then they wish they took it back.
And then they wish they did not hear your voice. I'm just kidding. No, but it's super important to, because, but then I still have had where, and I still have an issue with, this is something I struggle with, is feeling like I'm not being taken seriously.
Mhm.
Right. That is one of the things that I struggle with, because when I speak something, I speak with confidence for a reason. It's because I don't speak about things that I don't know about. And I have no issue saying that I don't know something. But if I'm telling you something, there's a reason why I'm telling it to you. And
Mhm.
when I don't when people don't take me seriously, or they're like, oh, that's just Heather. She's just over there. Like, no, I could school you. I just try not to. It's really hard sometimes. Can I just say, it's really hard sometimes. I was in a situation the other night where there was a couple of times where I just want to look at someone and read the shit out of them. And if it was a different situation, I probably would have.
I've been there. The other
But
day,
it was not. Then my best friend was like, "Oh, that would have been fun." And I was like, "Well, it was your barbecue. I could have,
yeah, yeah. The other day, I was invited to. I'm here at the farm, and some of the people, other friends at the farm, it was his birthday, and I was invited to the thing, and they were playing bonkers ball, and I realized after I left, because I ended up not getting in. Like, I went to get in, and I'm like, you know what, this is not good for me. I like every instinct in me said no, and I realized because they were all like 6'1", 6'2", 6'4", and 250 pounds, and I'm like,
that's not a
yeah,
good idea."
right. I was like literally like at least 4 inches shorter than anyone else,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and probably 20 to 30 pounds lighter, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's. I mean, I know that in the ball I'm safe and I'm not going to hurt myself, but I don't want to. Like, I just didn't want to.
I don't want to. Yeah. Maybe that's not a good idea.
That's not a good idea. And it was funny though, because I realized that after, like, there was this really, the energy was off, and I'm like, is this my energy that's off? Like, I started thinking, is it me not feeling like I'm comfortable? Is it me not being in? And I'm like, no, the energy's off. I'm gonna, and we end up leaving shortly after I realized that. Some of it is like being able to tell your truth, and some of it is understanding your truth for you, being able to tell you your truth.
Oh yeah,
feel.
see, even that
Mm-hmm.
clearing of the throat chakra there. We lie to ourselves more than we lie to anyone else.
No,
And
you
it is, and
don't.
sound is right. Ether is the, we've talked about what element goes with it. This is ether, which is the vibration, and we are a vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and silence as well, right? Silence is in that vibration. This is why vibrations are so important. And what we speak is, that's our own personal vibration. Like, no one speaks like me. You can make an AI, but at the end of the day, they can break that down, that that's not
Mm-hmm.
actually me speaking, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because it is my own personal vibration. How you speak and what you put out is your own personal vibration into the universe.
Yeah. And when I can tell you, when I post from AI, people notice. If
Yeah.
I'm doing something like, comparative to when I post something from me,
Yeah.
it's pretty evident. And I do use AI. Don't get me wrong. I post every day. No one. It's very difficult. It was very difficult before AI to do it. I have a whole list of stuff that was before AI, and I can tell you that using AI does help. What I have found is that I can't copy and paste AI. I have to rewrite it.
Yeah. But
Um,
it's a helpful creative tool to
right.
help guidance. All of our, to be honest, you guys, all of our stuff that we post on, as far as the podcast go, I just run it through AI. I read it and go, that sounds great, and that's what I pull.
Mhm.
It's very rare that I change it because we're doing very basic, descriptions and stuff. I do not make the
Right.
descriptions of these shows. No one has time for that shit. That's the beauty of AI. No one has
Right.
time for that shit. That's the beauty of AI, though, is that we can put in, but we're very specific about what we put in. I have a very
Right.
specific thing that I put into AI so that it's personalized to me. So that's
Right.
the other side of. But also, it allows you to use, it's a different form of communication that allows you to open up your creativity and see things from a different point of view. Because so many times we get stuck in our communication of repeating the same communication over and over again and not learning a different way to communicate it.
Yeah. And it's been interesting. A lot of times I use it as a writing partner, the same way I would if I was in a table somewhere doing a and that's been fun. So ends up being a lot more authentic, and it saves me from having a blank page. So instead of me calling Heather and saying, Heather, what does this sound like all the time? Because trust me, Heather has Heather has been at the
like I see all of his like 90% of the time I see his copy before it ever goes out. So by the time he posts anything on social media, I'm like, why do I feel like I've read this before? And it's because I have. Usually.
You have.
And so,
typically. Maybe even weeks and months before, it's actually because some of the stuff.
I'm like, haven't I talked to him about this?
Yes, like literally today. No, kidding.
And see, I overthink my content. So Jeff is always stopping me in the middle of conversations and going, oh my God, you need to say that again. That is great for content. And I'm like, don't do that to me, because I have no idea what I just said, by the way. Once it's out of my mouth, it's out of my mouth. So I always say we should record our conversations because I would get a lot of great content out of our conversations.
She would get great content out of our conversations. One of the things I do a lot, I talk to Mike, and Mike does that to me all the time too. Why aren't you saying that online? Why aren't you saying that anywhere? How do you say that? Say that again. I'm like, you're gonna make me run for office, aren't you?
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. And the thing is I don't know how I just said it.
Right. So, when I'm on phone with Mike, I have a pad open, just so I can write down stuff like that. And when I'm in, one of the things is when I'm in like conferences, I'm not necessarily taking notes for me. I'm taking content notes. What does that bring up for me? What did that bring up for me? Oh, and that's what's funny.
So that's one of those things that, so for those of you who don't know, I don't know how you can't. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to Florida. Florida is my creative zone, right? I know. And I have so much going on in the next couple of weeks. So this ought to be an interesting time.
Transition.
Though,
yeah.
To be honest, I mean, I don't really have a lot of stuff where I'm at. So it's just a matter of actually packing stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh God. See, I tend to overthink the content. So if I write it down, now I'm trying to make it sound. How could I reword that to make it sound even more?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just don't get it out.
Been there too.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
I'm going there to just be creative. Like I have a space. Like I know some things that I want to do. So it's gonna be a fun time for me.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm so excited for you. I'm going back to Detroit next on Thursday. So, which is always interesting. I'm going back to Adrian on Thursday. I don't think anyone knows where I'm going. I don't think I even knew where I'm going until today. It doesn't really matter all that much. I have plenty of places to go once I'm in that general vicinity.
Yeah.
I do end up in Detroit. I know for a fact I have to be in Detroit by a week from tomorrow because I have to get to Dearborn to get on my train. So
Right.
there's that. Yeah. But there's a lot of a lot of times I have that problem with not being able to communicate what's coming out either.
Yeah, it's a connection between the ideas of what I want to do and getting it out where it's going to hit for someone else, which I guess I probably shouldn't think about it as much and I should just do it, which I know that's the issue is that I'm in my head that it's like stop and make the video really quick. You don't have, so here's part of my here, and of course this is that blockage of what if I do put it all out there, then what?
Then what?
Right, because that's part of the fear of being your authentic self, right? Because part of that is the criticism that comes with the harsh words that people say and the communication. And nowadays, it's everywhere, right? Like we put this out, and this is uh, other countries. We know they're listening in other countries because we're like top 100 in other countries of
Yeah.
spiritual.
My problem is that for me, it's that I put it out and no one hears it. So
then my question, and see, this is where I'm the asshole. So then my question is, then is it you really speaking your truth, or is it you speaking what you think other people want to hear to attract them to you?
both.
And I say that for myself as well.
Right. And part of it is both. Right.
Yeah.
So what am I saying that I need, I'm living through, part of it's what I'm living through and how is it applicable? Because I never put a message out that's just about me.
Right.
I always want it to be applicable somewhere. There's, it's not
But
just
being just about you will be applicable somewhere for someone.
depending. No, it really does depend because there's days, even in this podcast, I watch how I phrase things and so that it's not it moves forward because when I don't, it is very unnoticeable. I can, as a matter of fact, I get yelled at over it. So, and we talked about earlier. I chopped up a couple of the videos, and having things that actually make sense on a larger scale when you cut it down into the soundbite, which I'm not very good at most of the time. Is staying on a soundbite, which is why it comes off sometimes that I don't have things to say.
Right. And that's only because it's longer than
Right.
a minute.
A minute.
Well, and part of that, so you always say to me, well, you always say all these profound things, but at the end of the day, part of that is that I have a lot of practice doing this in the sense that off and on for 10 years, I stood up in front of a classroom full of adults and had to teach them how to stick people with needles, like literally, you know what I mean? And how 20 different ways, how to explain it to different personalities, different ways, how it's going to be most comfortable for them. How can I re-say this so that it clicks in this person's head? Because everyone learns differently and everyone you interact with everyone differently. So, I mean, in a sense, I have the advantage just because I've been doing this shit for a while. This is just a different platform for me to fucking talk because I like to fucking talk and educate people and help them,
I think that for me, it's not so much, it's because I'm talking about things that I'm not as comfortable with.
Yeah.
There are things that I'm super comfortable with and things that I know, and then things that I thought I knew, and things that I can teach that I can't do. Because sometimes you do what you can't, you teach what you can't do. Like I understand a lot of mechanics, because I'm a Virgo, I'm a double Virgo. I could tell you the inside outs of a lot of the things that I'm not doing right. So, as a matter of fact, it's a big joke with Mike when I talk to my coach. He goes,
Yeah.
Where's your worksheet for this? And I pull it out. And he goes, yeah, so why are you not doing it this way?
Well, because at the end of the day, we can say all the things. If we're not living the things, that's the part that's the hardest part. And some people don't know. So, in the educational part of this, is educating people on things. But then we also have to that's where our healing journey comes in as well, of we get off track of, like your system.
Right.
I go back to that. As much as you think that I fought you through that whole thing, and I said, I just need to figure out how it works for me. Right? Give me all the information, because that's how I learn. I want all the information, and then I want to figure out what do you want from me? What are your expectations? And then let me work it out for me on how I can do it my way and meet your expectations. I'm great at that. Right? And I will step on the line. I still go back to that of like, that's something that I think about when I'm going to Florida, is practicing those things of like, okay, dedicating days to what am I doing that day?
Yeah.
Every Monday, what am I going to do? Every Tuesday, what am I going to do? Because you've even said, when I live in my system, I do so much better when I live in my system. And
When I live
then
in right.
yeah.
And then you fall off of it, or you're somewhere where it's knocked off. Like, for instance, here in the farm, my system does not work on the farm. Period. Poof. No, it really can't.
Well, that's when
Because
you find it. But if you're going to travel, right? Like, you have to find an adjustment of where your time is just as valuable, even when you're with other people, that your time is just as valuable, and a system that is going to work for you when you travel. Because I'm going to have to do the same thing, traveling and staying,
And there's a difference when it's for, like, when I'm at home,
yeah,
somewhere, and when I'm here. For instance, I'm waiting for the bell to ring because it's dinner time. Like
right,
I should be being called to dinner. Although I've told them I have a podcast at this time to this time, right?
right,
And I'm here. I've been here long enough. I think this is the first time the bell hasn't rang in the middle of it, right?
right,
And it's not that they're trying. It's just they're not thinking about it, and it's not in their system. It's not in their thoughts,
right.
right?
It's not part of their system.
It's not part of their system. So, and the choice is, not to be at dinner, which I have. I have literally, for a fact, in yoga, in our yoga, the bell rings.
Right.
It's like, oh, breakfast is ready. And they know about yoga, and they're pretty good. Yoga's pretty good about it. It's normally right at the end of it anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
But part of it's that my sleep schedule's off because I'm on a different time zone, and so everything is off. And now I've been in this time zone pretty much all summer. So right about the time I'm like used to it, I'm going back to Michigan. I'm probably not staying in Michigan long. My goal is to be out of there by the end. Well, my goal is to be in Palm Springs on Halloween. So I don't know how that's going to work and if that's going to work, but that is the plan.
But that's where it's important to speak into what you want and quit saying of the things that you think are not going to happen.
Yeah,
that's the vibration we put out. You guys, your communication is so important on so many levels, because what you're speaking into the universe is so important as well. And catching yourself, that's part of the healing process, is catching yourself when you start to say all the negative things, and then you got to go, I stop, because I keep saying, like, I'm overwhelmed, I have so much to do. And then I have to stop and go, no, I'm not. I'm not going to be overwhelmed, because it's all going to work out in the end, and it's going to get done. And I really don't have a whole lot to do. As long as I'm moving forward, doing a little bit of it every day, it's going to get done, because I really don't have a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
You can't pack the bags until a few days before. That's the main
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Figuring out how everything's gonna fit in the suitcases, right?
And I'm very careful about that. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know how I'm going to do that, is what I said. I don't know how.
yeah.
It's not how I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to do that right now.
But
I
instead
don't
of
know how that's
that,
going to work.
but even that is a negative connotation, thinking that you have doubt that it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be at the end of October, I'm gonna be where I'm meant to be. And if that means Palm Springs, then that's where I will be.
Uh, there's a lot of doubt over it, right?
That's
But
hard.
there's a
It's
lot,
hard to do.
right?
I'm just using that as an example because
Yeah.
that is one of the hardest
It-
things that was for me to do, was to change my thought process about things of, and and to help unblock this is to that is one trend that is really good, is the being grateful, saying things you're
mhm.
thankful for, saying things that you're grateful for on a daily basis. That actually is proven to work. When you start being thankful every single day for the things in your life and find what it is. If it's your water bottle that keeps you hydrated. And I go into depth about my gratitude, by the way. So even if I just write down something simple, I say, I am grateful for the people who love me because they support me in times when I don't feel like I am worthy of being supported. Right.
Mhm.
This is why, like, in depth of why are you grateful? What are you truly thankful for? And sometimes it's being thankful for the trash,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Uh,
right?
It's interesting to go through and be in the space, right? I get to be human and I get to do all the things, and
Yeah,
in ways that um are different, and I grew, and I'm not the same person that started this year.
yeah,
I am not the same person I was last year. This year
yeah.
has been a
Do you know how many
yeah,
boundaries I've set this year?
it's beautiful, isn't it? And
Yeah,
boundaries are so important in this chakra.
yeah, yeah. Boundaries are so important in speaking. Like, no, this is my limit, and I'm not doing this.
Right.
This is what is best for me, and communicating that. No, this is what's best for me, because I know that my opinion matters, right? I
Yeah.
know that my own feelings and expressing those are important, and standing behind that and saying no, right? Like, no, this is my boundary. No, I can't do this for you
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's huge. It's huge.
no is a complete sentence.
It's one of the things about traveling that is really beautiful. Right. And I got a little bit of that from my way. By the way, once I left New Orleans, everything was beautiful. Like
Well, yes,
the day before I
because so this goes back to communicating, putting things out into the universe. And we talked about this because the whole time, what did you keep saying to yourself? I just want to go home. I just want to
I
get
want to
home.
go
I just
I
want to get
want
back to safety. I just want to go home.
I want to go
Right.
home. At that point I want to go home. Right. But that's
Right.
because yeah, it was a mess. But but literally the day before I left, really, um things just Mercury retrograde ended, and the day that it ended, everything, and I'm not blaming retrograde. Don't hear it that way, but just the coincidence is the day that it ended,
You could blame retrograde. I don't care.
the
Blame
day that it,
retrograde.
the
Fucking
day that it
asshole.
end, the day that it ended, literally everything else like happened. I had one of my clients that had promised me money while I was there. It came through, and then my client
Right.
payment
All the things that you were so stressed about
stressed over
came through all at one time,
all at
right?
one
And then
time,
you had
right,
the abundance that you needed to
to do what I needed to do.
do what you
And then
needed
on
to
the way
do.
back, I had planned 2 campgrounds that were absolutely phenomenal. Like, where I decided, you know what, I'm not just staying one night. I'm not in a hurry to go home. And I looked at different ways to do that on this trip, and there is just not a good option. And I've tried. I looked like 6 different ways from Sunday to try to, like, 6 different routes to try to do something different. And I'm like, no, I guess I'm going home. I'm going to stay at Cracker Barrel. And if I stop anywhere, it's going to be a Cracker Barrel and just be done. By the way, Cracker Barrels are amazing for that. Thank you, Cracker Barrel, for being amazing when it comes to RVers. I will say that again.
So they're a safe zone.
They're a safe zone. You can go and you can stay. Most of the time, you can park overnight there, and they have like spots for them.
So as we wrap up our communication, if you want to unblock your, if you think that you need to work on your throat chakra and you have a hard time verbalizing your truth and living in your truth and your authenticity, which so many of us do for so many reasons. And obviously, it's still something that we are all working on as well. You can always wear blue. I'm wearing my Ravenclaw today. I'm a Ravenclaw. Proud
Me too.
Ravenclaw.
I wore mine the other day.
But so one of the things is not only is this you talking and communicating, but it's also listening and being able to respond instead of react. I think that's such a beautiful lesson in this is when you start to really open up the chakra, you're able to stop yourself in the moment, and instead of reacting to someone, you get to respond to them and you actually hear and listen to them, right? One of the best ways to do this is silent meditation. And I know that sucks, but put on those noise canceling headphones and just sit in some silence. Don't make any noises, don't anything. But if you have to, there's the other side of this, which is the catharsis part of it, where you can scream and yell and laugh. And that is just as beautiful to open up your throat chakra. And one of Jeff's all-time favorite things, and something that I'm getting back into and really appreciate, which I thank you for all the people who remind me of this, is singing. Singing is a beautiful way to open up that throat chakra. And I used to be not too bad at it, I have to say, back in the day. I'm definitely not a high soprano anymore, soprano 1, but,
The last I was tested, I was still tenor 1.
Huh?
Last I was tested, I was still tenor 1.
I haven't been tested in a long time, but back in the day, I used to. You can also journal. You guys getting your emotions out in some way, and then you could burn it. You could do whatever you want with it. Keep it for forever. Let your children read it or your grandchildren read it. I don't care, but getting that out in some way. I video journal. I like to talk to myself.
You really do, and it's really cool. I love the thought process. Normally, my video journal, if I'm gonna video journal, and I'm gonna just release it. So it's kind of funny. The awesome
mine it was actually to make myself be more human.
Yeah,
really humanize myself.
I got that. I understand that. I do understand that, because so often we get stuck in this digital and guru and guide, and just remember, hey, I'm human. One of the great thank you, by the way, because often you are a place where I can say that up.
You're welcome.
I can be more human and say the damn things.
Well, yeah.
So
thank you for allowing me to hold that space for you.
Anytime
I really
you hold space.
What I do is I'm honored at what I do and the role that I play in people's lives. I don't take what I do lightly, that's for sure.
No, me either.
And the role that I play in people's lives, because I'm reminded all the time, and I don't always remember how impactful I am with people because I'm just being myself. It's nice to be reminded of what role I play, because I'm just like, oh, I'm me, and
you remind me of me too.
Yeah.
You do that for me often. Is remind me if for by nothing else, by association, guilt by association lately has been her favorite. Like, and you're in that circle, and you are right there, and you are right there. Yeah. So, also pick up the Awesome Plan, guys. I have a really cool journal that
I'll have one day,
and she will have one soon. I promise. I think it's in my hands now. Damn.
It is.
Oh, crap. Yeah. This month was not it was not a good time for me to do projects like that. Nor mine.
Right.
It's very possible. I'm kind of being told that I need to go and write. So stay off social media completely and rewrite and release the other book. But we'll see how that works.
If he would just listen to himself sometimes.
If I would just listen to myself sometimes, I got it. I understand. I heard that was after I hung up the phone with you today. It was, that was one of the things that happened. The problem is I work with.
I love it. Yeah, get Jeff's True Awesome Plan. It gives you guides to, how it focuses your day for you. That right?
And your journal. Yeah. It's a journaling process that's really it is scientifically based, energy based. Every single question it asks every day, every week, every month is designed to help you stay motivated and together. And we talked about gratitude. That's part of it. Also inspiration, because sometimes you have to be reminded of your inspiration and why the hell you're doing the beep that you're doing.
Right. Why the fuck are we doing it?
Right. Because it's.
I also remind myself on a regular basis, like, why am I doing this?
And the Awesome Plan does that every morning. Hey, 3 things that inspires you. What inspires you? What are you inspired by today? And the goal is to not repeat yourself. So at least every week.
Yeah, and in your gratitude too, right?
Yep. And your gratitudes too.
You can't wake up you can wake up every day and go, I'm grateful for my coffee. I'm grateful for,
I am grateful for my coffee.
I'm grateful for my weed. I'm grateful for my coffee and my weed.
I am very grateful for my coffee. Thank you.
You guys, I am doing one-on-ones. If you want to hook up with me, go to spiritualsexandcandy.com. All my links are in there. Or Living Miracle Wellness across the board. My links for all my places are in there as well, by the way. So you can follow me elsewhere and DM me, which will probably get you quicker on my schedule, by the way.
Yeah.
So go do that. And go check out our merch on spiritualsexandcandy.com. Public Tea, Spiritual Sex and Candy.
And let me know what you think about forced meditation. What does that mean to you? Put that in the comments down below. Just out of curiosity.
All right.
Something that Heather and I were talking about.
That was right. Anyway. The card I got today was family, which I love because this is belonging, community, culture, and tribe. Within the circle of family, we discover our belonging and the freedom to truly be ourselves. You have to be open to this tribe, and it doesn't always mean your birth family, right? You have a soul tribe that you're going to find, and they're going to find you regardless of what life throws at you. There are those people in your life that are always going to be there. And as soon as you start being your true authentic self and you start speaking your truth, that's how you find those people. Because when you're speaking your truth, you're putting that vibration out into the world for it to be reciprocated back to you. Speak that truth and you will find your tribe. If you're sitting at home, you're not going to find your tribe, love. Sorry. I mean, you can, but you better be on social media speaking your truth and finding those people that you connect with so that you can open up about yourself.
Exactly.
They're out there.
They are. Hi. That's how we met.
Yeah.
And it's funny because My card is the Seven of Cups, which is the card of options. Okay, there are so many different options available to you. There's so many possibilities. And one of the problems with the Seven of Cups, and I think this is where I am, there are so many possibilities available to me. Right? And you. There are so many possibilities that it's endless. Yeah. And so focusing and staying focused is the challenge. How can you focus yourself? How can you choose? Chocolate, vanilla. Choose the path.
The key is to just pick one.
Pick one. Exactly.
You're going to pick the right one. You're always going to pick the right one.
Right. And if not, come back and choose something else. See, we're like a choose your own adventure book.
It is choose your own adventure book, but we create our own lives and just make the decision. Just choose one. It's not the wrong decision, because in that decision you learned something. You may go back and make a different choice, something else to do later, which is fine, but you had to go through that experience for a reason. So quit thinking that you're going to make the wrong choice. There is no wrong decision.
Exactly.
You might not like the results of that decision, but that doesn't make it a wrong decision. It just means that there was a lesson that you needed to learn through that.
Exactly.
I know, and everyone out there is flipping me off right now, and I'm perfectly okay with it. I know, I get it. All right, you guys, thanks for coming and hanging out with us and listening.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate and love each and every one of you.
We do.
Have a good week.
Thank you. Be good.
Or be good at it.
Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.